All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome into the stream. Good to see you all here. Hello, Joseph. Hey, from New Jersey. Good to see you in. I'm seeing in the Discord, Como, Albin, Complex, Ace, Tara, Gomtesh, Sat, Rami. Good to see you guys here. We're gonna do what we do. I answer questions about story. If you want to ask me a direct question and you want me to hear your lovely, lovely voice, ask me a more in-depth question. The best way to do that is by joining the Discord below. Then you can actually come into the stream and we can have a conversation. Hello, Senna. Hello, Christian. Hey, Adam. Good to see you all here. Complex says, just jumped in. Been a while since I managed to join a live stream. Well, I am very happy you're here, Complex. Good to see you in. And Albin, I hope you didn't feel like I was picking on you too much in my latest YouTube video. You really inspired me. You inspired me to talk about a topic that I think was really worth talking about, and I hope that people were really helped by it. Hello, Mitchell Escutia Madrigal. That's a cool name. MCJ, what's going on? Nice haircut. I appreciate that, Mitchell. Glad you enjoy the cut. You know, sometimes I get tired of people saying that I look like a frat boy trust fund baby. I don't want that to be my energy. I know that sometimes it is. So, you know, I got to switch it up sometimes. One too many. I got called a trust fund baby one too many times this week in a Starbucks, and I was like, all right, I got to do something about this. And it's hot in Tennessee, so you know it's a combination of factors, not just my evident trust fund demeanor. Hey, V Matthews, good to have you here. Alvin says, no, it's okay. Good to know that a lot of what I struggle with is simply overthinking. I do think it opened my eyes as to how much I do it. Also, the YouTube video was very insightful. Excellent, Alvin. Very, very glad to hear. MCJ in the chat says, can we talk about character development in storytelling? MCJ, can you ask me a more specific question? We can definitely discuss character development. 1 second here. Why is this not working? No, I don't want to remove it. There it is. Okay. We should be good there. Christian says, people just say that to you at Starbucks? No, it was, I was sitting there waiting for my beverage, and there's a woman also waiting for hers. And she said something to me. I can't remember what she said, but I was just talking to her, and then she was telling me that she asked me how old I was, and I said that I was 27, and she was like, oh, you look 19, and I was like, thanks, I think. And she, Joseph, congratulations on spec number 5. Good job, man. Complex, yes. I see your comment. You asked me a while ago to collect the outline of my story in one document so you can better give me feedback. Yes. Drop that document into the chat here. Like if you have it on Google Drive, that would be super ideal. And we can absolutely take a look at it today. But just to have a brief conversation here about character development until MCJ asks me a more specific question. If you want a character to develop, what does that really mean? What it means is you want them to change, right? Character development equals character change, right? Well, then how do you actually represent that? How does one represent a character changing? Well, it is actually very simple. Through choice, okay? So if you're trying to show who a character is, if a character is, let's say, the embodiment of a particular worldview, or they are making certain choices. Let's take, for example, the headmaster in Dead Poet Society. Let's take this character. Headmaster in Dead Poets Society. Okay. So with this character, let me see if I can pull him up on YouTube. Dead Poets Society opening. Yes, Headmaster speech. All right, let's take a look at this clip here real quick, because I think this is going to be helpful for understanding character development. Okay.
Now, just to review to the headmaster. At that point, he will indicate to you to light the candles of boys.
All right, boys, let's settle down. Banners up.
Okay, just to pause here. Literally on screen it says tradition, right? Okay, what is this already showing us about this school immediately? It's showing us that this school values these ideas, right? Literally, it's the word tradition on the screen. It can't get more obvious than that. So discipline, excellence, honor, right? And the big one that we got the close-up on was tradition, okay? So now we have this headmaster. Listen to what he's saying.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys, the light of knowledge.
Let me try to find his speech.
41 boys.
Yeah, here we go.
59. 41 boys sat in this room and were asked the same question that now greets you at the start of each semester. Gentlemen, what are the 4 pillars?
Tradition, honor, discipline, excellence.
In her first year, Welton Academy graduated 5 students. Last year, we graduated 51, and more than 75% of those went on to the Ivy League. This kind of accomplishment is the result of fervent dedication to the principles taught here. This is why you parents have been sending us your sons. This is why we are the best preparatory school in the United States.
Okay. So, is it not playing audio from there? I don't know why I wouldn't be. Don't know. Anyways. So this headmaster, okay, he is the symbol of tradition. He is the symbol of conservatism. He is the symbol of doing things the way that they have been done, right? So he is the embodiment of that. And so first, to have character development, you must first understand where that character stands. And so this character is the embodiment of these ideas: tradition, conservatism, discipline, these sorts of things. Now, if we wanted him to change, how would we have that happen? We would watch him make a choice that is anti-tradition, conservatism, discipline, these sorts of things. Okay? Right? So if you're going to set up who a character is, You set them up in their normal world, right? So in this first scene, you could say that he is making, it is an implied decision. He's making an action to uphold tradition, right? He's giving this speech in front of his new students, describing to them why his particular school is so good. It is because of tradition, discipline, these sorts of things. If you had him change, it would be through showing him make a choice that is different from the values that he believes in. That is what character development is. So if you're going to have character development, you set up what a character believes, set up what a character embodies, set up what a character symbolizes, and then you change that to something else, right? So if we saw him go from headmaster to, artist out in the woods who, let's say he made the choice to abandon his career and then he went out into the woods to be some artist, right? Or he went and he decided to become a poet. That's not what happens in this story. What happens in the story is different, and you can watch the movie. But let's say he embraced the belief of of our teacher character. So let's see, like here we have Robin Williams, and Robin Williams sits on the other side of this, right? So again, right, immediately we're looking at physical characters that embody philosophical ideas. I made a video yesterday where I was talking about forget philosophical conflict, and I use that language not to say that philosophical conflict does not actually matter, and if you watch the video, you will see what I mean. But I am using this language to say, hey, we need characters that actually physically represent these larger ideas that we're talking about. So in that story, Robin Williams is the example of the yearning artist, let's say, right? He is the one that is broken out of these traditional frames, right? He is the lover of breaking the mold. So now you have these two characters that sit on the two direct opposing sides of this conflict, which is on one side of the conflict, we have the headmaster, who is the proponent of tradition, proponent of conservatism, and then we have Robin Williams, who is the proponent of art, proponent of breaking the mold, the proponent of finding a different way of doing things. And this is symbolized in this scene with the rip it out scene. So let's talk about that.
Page 21 of the introduction. Mr. Perry, will you read the opening paragraph of the preface entitled Understanding Poetry?
Understanding Poetry by Dr. J. Evans Pritchard, Ph.D. To fully understand poetry, we must first be fluent with its meter, rhyme, and figures of speech. Then ask two questions. One, how artfully has the objective of the poem been rendered? And two, how important is that objective? Question one rates the poem's perfection. Question two rates its importance. And once these questions have been answered, determining the poem's greatness becomes a relatively simple matter. If the poem's score for perfection is plotted on the horizontal of a graph, and its importance is plotted on the vertical, then calculating the total area of the poem yields the measure of its greatness. A sonnet by Byron might score high on the vertical, but only average on the horizontal. A Shakespearean sonnet, on the other hand, would score high both horizontally and vertically, yielding a massive total area, thereby revealing the poem to be truly great. As you proceed through the poetry in this book, practice this rating method. As your ability to evaluate poems in this manner grows, so will your enjoyment and understanding of poetry.
Excrement. That's what I think of Mr. J. Evans Pritchard. We're not laying pipe. We're talking about poetry. How can you describe poetry like American Bandstand? Well, I like Byron. I give him a 42, but I can't dance to it. Now, I want you to rip
So now,
out that page. Go on. Rip out the entire page. You heard me. Rip it out. Rip it out! Go on. Rip it out! Thank you, Mr. Dalton. Gentlemen, tell you what, not just tear out that page, tear out the entire introduction. I want it gone. History. To leave nothing of it. Rip it out. Rip! Be gone, J. Evans Pritchard, Ph.D. Rip, shred, tear, rip it out!
So, this scene that we're watching, we have this symbol, the symbol of the textbook, and the symbol of essentially sort of the poetry theory here, right? And they are trying to sort of judge poetry from this rule base, and Robin Williams' character is making the argument that this is total garbage, and that these ideas of essentially tradition conservatism, that is what is being represented by this book here, that these are no good. So, if you wanted this character to become different, you first must understand who they are. If you wanted Robin Williams' character to then integrate into the tradition or conservatism side of things, then it would be him going back on this idea later on in the story. And we watch him, instead of ripping the pages out, he's then later on telling the students, no, you can never ever rip your pages out, right? So you essentially need two choices to have character development, right? Basically, no matter the size of your story. Right? You need a setup choice that helps us understand who that character is. And then you need a sort of payoff choice, which allows us to see the change in that character. MCJ says, I have a character that has a need of finding her own identity and belonging, which will lead her to go to her past and find that she has a brother. She will endeavor the adventure. Let me grab this so that we can use it for this here. So MCJ says this. Okay. And then going against her parents' want for her. I have a character that has a need of finding herself and will leave behind all privileges in order to find her biological brother. Would that be correct? My answer would be yes. It seems like you are on the right track here. So let me blow this up for you a bit. You said, okay, I have a character that has a need of finding her own identity and belonging, which will lead her to go to her past and find that she has a brother. She will endeavor the adventure and go against her parents' wants for her, which I see you also wrote in. Let me add that. And so you have a character that has a need of finding herself and will leave behind all the privileges she has in order to find her biological brother. Would that be correct? Yes. So what you are essentially going to do is first, you show her holding on to this past, right? Holding on specifically to her parents, right? So this is the key here. The parents' character that you have involved, that's going to be a big piece. So you essentially have the parents on one side, you have the brother on the other side, and the parents are her past identity and sort of past belonging, culture, whatever you want to call that. And then her brother represents the adventure and maybe also represents the truth of where she actually came from. So now we have this daughter character or sister character who is going in this direction. So we set her up as part of this world first. Then when the story begins, we send her in this direction, showing that she has developed, and sending her that way. So that works. And complex, I do see that. So hopefully that makes sense. What you're doing when you have to develop a character is you first need to express where that character stands, right? What sort of, like, where are they? And this is a great way. The fact that you mention these parents, this is very important, because rather than only saying, so let's go back to the headmaster idea here, right? If you notice in this first scene, remembering that the physical is the symbolic embodiment of the philosophical, right? Stories are 3 in 1, just like I talked about in my recent video. So we don't see the headmaster just by himself in a random location, right? That wouldn't make sense. We're meeting this headmaster where? At an opening ceremony for his school. in full physical embodiment of his worldview and beliefs, right? He has his students, they're holding the flags, discipline, honor, excellent. We literally start the scene with this right here.
Banners up.
Right? We literally start the scene showing this. Boom, tradition, literally written out, right? And people say you can't be clear and on the nose. I don't want to hear about that. Like, look at this. This is one of the greatest movies this is one of the greatest movies of all time. And in the opening, in the first 25 seconds of the film, we go from title sequence here into literally putting the fundamental word on screen. So it's like, you can't get any more obvious than that. And that's what you want, right? You want to make it clear, because if it's not clear, then people don't understand it. And then you get this sort of anti-plot garbage that people don't actually resonate with, right? But this is super clear. And so now we're meeting this headmaster in the physical world embodiment of his beliefs. He's in his school, surrounded by his students, right? He is at the top of the hierarchy here. Everything is serving, this whole frame that you're seeing on screen is serving his viewpoint, serving what he believes about the world physically, in the physical reality of that story. So I hope that is helpful. I see Complex has put this in. Okay, current outline. Here's the current outline. At the end, there's notes. And here's the current written version, not complete. Around 40% does. Okay, let's take a look at the written version here. Okay. Complex, do you want to come up and speak? Also, if you can give me commenting access, that would be super helpful, because then I can leave to you some notes. Also, I noticed that you have just bulleted this out without sort of any structural sense, which is fine to start, but ideally we can actually understand what some of our beats are. But we can go ahead and take a look here for sure. Okay, hold on, let me.
Hello?
Hello, hello.
Thank you. About the lack of structure, I was actually struggling to find the structure that is suitable for this. I'll try to give a commenting access. Hold on.
Okay.
I'm stuck on my phone because solar is down. I have no power right now.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, sorry about it.
No worries. Well, let's go ahead and take a look.
It will take a while to give access to comments.
Okay. Well, then what I will do is just, I'll just kind of read through this and we can go from there. Okay.
Thanks.
So this is the fragmented recursion outline. Androids, the alphas, who are referred to by their number, are heading to a mission. The one called 7 gets out for wearing jackets on her waist against the military rules. Gets called out for wearing jackets on her waist against the military rules. The androids crash into a harsh encounter on the ground. The mutants, our enemies, slaughter through them. They receive a transmission of the captain being taken down and pass the position to Alpha 5. 5 is found scared, frozen, in danger on the ground by 7. 7 threatens to kill her and inherit her position if 5 doesn't confirm her role. 5 solidifies her captain role after repelling a threat off 7. What do you mean by this confirming the role element?
Hold on. Well, the captain died, so 5 was the next in line between the ones alive. So she was assigned the captain position, and she was asked to confirm it.
Oh,
She
okay.
was too shaken to reply, so 7 threatened her.
Gotcha. Okay. So they realize only 4 of the squad are left. 5 utilizes the remaining members and tools to flee. 20 guides them underground, and they evade a volcano underneath by a margin. 20 utilizes her laser to dig a tunnel in the walls. They stumble upon a group of old androids in a room or a cave. The ground forces react to the Alpha's hostility, and suspicion arises. Alpha's model was never seen before. The Alphas get held under gunpoint and decide to knock out the ground forces when negotiations prove fruitless. Their target mission location turns out to be the volcano. The Alphas question what led to that. 7 finds a flower, takes a liking to it. 20 brings up the flower name, Amaryllis. Second mission, they meet the infected kid, and 20 saves him after a conflict. The ground forces captain was there, but unintroduced. Not sure if it's a woman or man for the time being. I might be going with a dude. GRF's captain splits with them. Okay, sweet.
Yeah, I enabled comments.
Got
Sorry
it.
about it.
Finds the location. Remember, second mission, they meet the infected kid. 20 saves him after a conflict. Forces. Ground forces captain was there, but unintroduced. Not sure if it's a woman or man. Okay. Third mission received. Okay. They find a. Let me just read through this before I start giving notes. Third mission received. They find a safe place to stay the night. 7 is relieved that the Amaryllis survived the crash, but notices that it's starting to wither. 20 offers her notebook to dry the flower and preserve it. Also tells 7 to keep an eye on natural material that can be used to cover the flower and keep it safe. 7 and 11's intimate moment. 11 reveals being a part of the squad that got killed because of defection and mentions understanding their decision now. They defect when the report risks 7 and 11's lives. They get targeted by a tide, an astronomical number of mutants, encountering a strange, strong humano-mutant who hardly lifted a finger as the tide surged. GRF's captain breaks an opening for them and leads them to an escape route under the fire. They're now received at the camp without hostility, but suspicions are still there. 20, overseeing the situation, recommends taking out the source of mutants around the area to ensure the safety of everyone, providing a plan. The GRFs hesitate because the plan is risky to near suicidal. The Alphas get name recommendations based upon... Okay, so like... This is just, it kind of is just super stream of consciousness. I think that's why you don't have a structure here. We don't really meet the characters. We don't really have an understanding as to why this mission is happening at all, as to who the mutants are. It kind of feels just like you are swimming in an ocean of ideas, and there's not really a particular clarified flow to things. So I think you're kind of starting off right in the middle of the action. And I understand that from a sort of hopping into a story perspective, but this actually ends up harming the story because I don't meet any of the characters, and we just get, it ends up feeling just like these big action moments that aren't giving us any real connection to these people. I think what would be the most helpful thing for you is to build in setup from the very beginning, right? Set up this world a little bit, set up who these people are, set up why they are doing what they are doing. Because right now it's essentially reading like a abstract stream of consciousness idea where we have our androids fighting mutants, and it's very difficult to care about the characters because we haven't met them at all. We don't really have a clear understanding for why the conflict is happening. It almost feels like you're scared that nobody's going to like your story, so you have to get to the big parts as fast as possible and just throw a ton of stuff in the audience's mind to just keep them engaged. But that ends up not being helpful to you because then you're moving too fast, and we're not actually meeting the characters. Part of the reason that we need setup in a story, and part of the reason that it is valuable to start slower, is it allows us to understand and meet our different characters.
There might be some of that, but I don't think the problem is the intro. Like up until the part you read, you weren't supposed to be feeling the characters that much.
So then why am I reading? Okay, continue.
This is the entire action sequence at the beginning are the setup.
But what's it setting up? It's not setting up the characters. It's
Different characters and the situation. I'm trying to give the feeling the characters are feeling. It's hard to explain.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm trying to put the reader in the same point of view as these characters. They are there. Everything is chaos, and they don't know what's going on, other than they have this mission and they gotta do it.
But they
So
know
I'm trying
they
to
know each other, right?
not much beyond training. Like if you notice at the beginning, it was a squad of I think 20. I didn't. It's more than that maybe. And they just end up the four of them because everyone else is dead. So they're not really that close. They got close because of the situation.
Sure. So then if there's a situation where they're in training and then there's like 20 of them to start, and then now we cut to the key four that survive, to me that then would be a great setup to start, because then we can start with these characters barely meeting each other in training. They get some quick training. There's 20 of them. Now we go to the ground. Boom, immediately like 16 of them die. And now we have this core group that's coming together. That seems like a stronger setup, because now we're getting that sense of, okay, there was 20 of us, right? And we weren't super close, but like there was 20 of us. We're all sent on this mission. And now here we are on the ground and there's like 5 of us.
Is there a need to like more setup than or like? I start with the 20 something units going like onboarding the ship to the mission site, and then the whole thing with 4 remaining happens.
Okay.
You can check it out. I actually wrote it in the other document. So I think the setup is there, but I'm not sure if I should add more context to it. There isn't much that comes to mind. Nothing that is important. I think some of them are repeated. I forgot to clean them up. Maybe the ones in yellow.
Mm-hmm.
I was fixing it.
Okay, maybe it's just like, complex. When I read this story before and I'm reading it again, it's so very much stream of consciousness, and I'm struggling to find that piece that makes me latch in. Like I'm like we have. And then with the way that you wrote this outline, it's all like same bullet point. Like I don't know what's a big note here. I don't know what's a small note here. I don't know like what my timeline is. I don't know where, like, is the inciting incident of the story the very exact opening? Is the inciting incident something that's happening later? Like, because right now what this is reading to me is like this just kind of, okay, we got characters, we got androids, and they're going to find some mutants, and then we're doing missions, and we're doing mission 2, and we're doing mission 3, and it's like I'm waiting to find something I'm really latching on to as like, okay, this is not just full stream
Mind
of
if I ask
consciousness.
something?
Sure.
What expectations does the story give you when you start reading it?
I don't even have any. I mean, like I'm waiting for I'm waiting to find out. Like I don't even sense who my main character is, because we kind of
There isn't one.
right. Okay, so then exactly. You know, like there's no, like if there's no main character here, then already like there you've got a story that doesn't have a main character and reads a super stream of consciousness. So it's like, how would I give notes on that? Like you essentially have you're kind of telling a dream, right? And like you can do that.
I'm not sure if I understand the stream of consciousness thing, but I don't have one main character. I have 4.
Mm-hmm.
And none of them is like has less screen time or importance than the other. Each one represents a certain point.
What do they represent?
The reason I asked what are your expectations is I was wondering if I was giving some wrong impressions or wrong expectations that are never met.
What do the 4 characters
Can
represent?
you give me an example of?
What do the 4 characters represent?
I need to focus a little bit. I did write it in a thread here. There are 5, 7, 20, and 11. 5 is the one who's by the book because she's afraid of loss. She's not very much by the book as much as she's green. She thinks this is the right thing to do or the right thing to stay safe. 11 is kind of similar, but he had past experiences where he already saw the results of people defecting. 7 is kind of careless. She has her own interests, but she's too careless. Like it's hard for me to describe 7 right now. But she also has her story. 20 is not exactly by the book as much as she's logical. So each of them has their own point of view that changes throughout the story. And I think if it's clear enough, none of them has any importance to their own lives or the meaning of their own life. So that's the biggest thing that changes, but for each one it's different. All of this under extreme circumstances that are not very common to see or not. It's not easy to give a yes or no answer to this kind of situation or know what's right or wrong. So it's about showing what to focus on in such situation. I'm having trouble writing these things because oftentimes the story structure is like you need a clear idea, you need to set 1, 2, 3 to reach it, and then you deliver a clear answer. In my case, I want to leave that to the reader's interpretation or the viewer. Or I want to present an idea, a situation, and people going through it making decisions. But I don't want to give the final answer. I want it to be up to the viewer's perspective.
Sure. So, I mean, that's fine. If at the base you want this to be 4 people going through a disaster situation and making tough decisions, cool. The more that you can, yeah, I mean, if that's how you want it to be, then essentially, yeah, you're just kind of writing as you go, and you're giving them extreme situation after extreme situation, and you're going to have them solve it as they go. And so that's essentially what
there is an actual I can probably write down a story circle for each one of them, but that doesn't mean I want to write whatever's on my mind and just let it be if it's not really interesting. I'm trying to improve it to be good enough, but still within my style.
I
if
mean,
that makes sense.
yeah. I mean, right now it's just like it just reads fairly unclearly in the sense of, okay, let's look at pages. So you have a few footsteps break the silence. A subtle is merely a transportation tool, but the woman with ID number 7 on her chest decided to make it a walkway. So I think like even sentence structurally wise, like what is being said in this individual sentence? You're saying we're on a shuttle and a woman is walking through, right?
Yeah.
Right. It's just being said in a way that is sort of frustrating to read, right? So I think that's kind of where it comes from. It's like the way that you're writing the prose is kind of all over the place. And then
Yeah, I admit that I'm a terrible writer, and this is still a draft, so I understand.
it wasn't the flashy high ponytail of hers that set her apart, nor the shining silver color of it all. Another woman had it. The same can be said about her skin tight, fully equipped black model battlesuit. First mission already defining orders. A voiced opinion elicits no physical response from her. The guy behind it with ID 1 trails off his terminal for opponent. I spent on our captains. Don't need warmth in HQ. Having tied it, just shake it over. She continues. Hint of amusement danced in our voice. Wonder if we'll stumble down a hot spring down there. Raises her eyebrow. Okay, so this is fine. Nonchalant as over 7 shrugs. Prepare for deployment. Made by Crimson. Sent trails above them in full motion. Ground vibrated beneath their boots. Lower rhythmic terror. Shimmer. Grotesque figures, pale fast fused, size like a form rise, heat radiating from the glowing red cracks in his flesh, the ground trembles mirroring the tremor in their hands, searching for an opening amidst the onslaught of grotesque creatures. Well, this is definitely hot, but not a spring. 7 mutters, brandishing a long sleep blade. Fluids rains down, penny. Sudden crack in the chaos region, the squad captain confirmed offline, transferring captain duties to Alpha Phi to waiting confirmation. Someone was around, spotting the requested to be captain down. Their standard size blade. Lost his strong. Yeah, okay, so this is I think it's just like I'm trying to describe exactly what's going on here. I think it ends up feeling like we have like it's 4 characters problem solving as things happen. It's like you can write a story like that, but the more
that's just in the beginning.
Well, I thought that's what you said.
Like I'm pretty sure that's how it looks like, but there is a certain flow, and there is a certain like there are climaxes, and there is a conclusion for each.
Do you have climaxes
not just
in the outline?
Yeah, they're all there, but the problem is that they don't happen at the same time.
Sure. Can we
like 11's climax ends up early?
Can we highlight?
He dies.
Can we highlight some climaxes just so that I get like where those are supposed to be from your mind?
I'm trying. Hold on. So one of the first important conflicts is between 20 and 11. Is when the infected kid gets found out.
Where is this?
I'm trying to find it. I think it's the same line you have the cursor on.
This one, second mission?
Yeah.
Okay. So where's the climax piece?
It's not a climax, it's an important plot point. I think I wrote it down in the other document.
Okay. But
it's there is a little dialogue between 20 and 11. That's the first major point of conflict.
Okay. But do you have climax moments that I can highlight here to get a sense of what I'm looking at?
All right. I'm trying to find them. 11's story circle would be starting out with the conflict with 20, then slowly warming up and telling 7 why he's very much by the rules and suspicious. He ends up breaking all the rules to save 7. He dies. Hold up. Like I'm trying to find which point was it.
Sure.
Um, yeah, the one before it.
Where is it?
The one before
Oh,
your cursor.
this one? They arrive, clear the area?
The flashback. This and yeah, and the one after it.
Flashback reveals that Seven had to unlock the door using his arms, so it wasn't holding his slaughter. So the flashback is the climax here?
Yeah. I think it starts from that when they arrive.
They arrived, clear the area to find 11 dead hours ago. So, and then before that,
It's I think the problem is that the devil is in the details. Like it's hard to explain why it's important here, but
well, no, it's not. The issue is that you can't identify what the climax is because you don't know.
No, I think I just couldn't write it. I have ADHD, so it's hard for me to highlight which details are important and which are not.
Well, sure. This is what I'm saying, right? Like we need to understand which details are important and which are not, so that we can have an understanding of where our climaxes are. Because if you like, I totally understand if you want to tell the story about these 4 characters who are dealing with all this crazy stuff going on this planet while they are this kind of squad. Totally get that. Makes perfect sense. But if we can't clearly identify where our climactic scenes are, it makes it pretty difficult for us to get started on kind of clarifying where the story is going. If you want to just write it at, this is what I'm also saying about like stream of consciousness writing. What I mean by that is, you mentioned that you believe you have ADHD. That kind of stream of consciousness of just going with the flow of ideas and just allowing them to be chaotic, that can be a good start. I can get you something out on the page, but then when you're starting to hone in, okay, what really is my story here? How can I guide the conflict and the emotion up and down, going up to climaxes and back down to new setups and up to climaxes and back down to new setups? If we can't clearly identify where those climaxes are, and like what is our climactic scene, for example, right? What would be a midpoint scene? What would be a Act 1 break from Act 1 into 2? What would be a midpoint climax? What would be a break into 3? What would be a final climax? Finding those points.
That's what I wanted to ask you about.
Sure.
So I can kind of vaguely identify the climaxes. For example, this one is the climax, but I just realized that I didn't write the important points in terms of climax.
Okay.
Like what makes it climax is that 11 is usually he doesn't defy orders under any means because he's always scared of the result of the defection.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point, he and Seven chose to defect right before it.
Okay.
Like
so the scene is so.
And that's what the entire yeah.
So can you walk me through the scene, or do you have that scene written down so I can read like what actually happens in the climactic scene?
I don't think I wrote that one, but I have the one with where he fights 20, the conflict with 20. In the I only have less than half of it written completely, so
Okay.
the outline version is the full one.
Okay. So that point with 20 is where in this outline?
The point with 20 is when they find the kid. It's not much highlighted here, but it's written fully in the other documents.
Second mission, they meet the
This
infected
one-
kid. 20 saves him after a
Yeah.
conflict? Okay. And you said you had that one written in here?
Yes.
Okay. Let me... do you know what page...
It's below. It's yeah.
20's voice filter.
It's also below.
Underground.
Even a section below, it's after the ground forces.
All right. So
I think it should be clear enough because it's a bunch of dialogues. Like it's a bunch of lines below each other. Yes, it should be around here. Below it. All right, here. It's around here.
okay.
So you see that line, the infected recon line, the part above it.
Infected. This one.
Yeah,
Okay.
the part above it. It's when it starts.
Oh, shiver courses through 20.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So, can you set place for me? Where are we at this point?
In the second mission, they find the kid is also an android, but from the ground forces.
Right. So where
This
are
is when
no like
yeah,
location?
where are
Like
we
where
in-
are our characters standing?
It's an old lab made by humans, android lab.
Old Android lab. Cool. Okay.
And 20 used the safety mechanism there to trap the infected kid.
Safety mechanism to track the infected kid. Glaring his attention, the kid shifts. They open a door to a small hall or 20. Okay, is this the beginning here?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So scene beginning. Excellent. All right. Awesome. Okay. So they open the door to a small hall where 20 takes the lead, checks around, stops slightly away from the middle, turns towards the group, eyes still on the terminal. She had no incentive of checking the widened eyes of the squad, not even when 5 managed some words. 20? And right behind 20 was an android. Okay, awesome. Moving, more like wobbling, side to side, eyes glowing red, apparently struggling to stand. It won't take long just compiling the scan data. 20's eyes are still glued to the terminal. Doofus, behind you. 7 brandishes her sword, stepping towards the android who's making weird moans. Now, filled with static. Let me finish first. 20 still won't budge. 11's rifle was on the ready. Finish your lifetime, or his mouth too. When 20 suddenly slides her leg, tackles the wobbly android while he was jumping on her, and a wall of transparent material shoots up, surrounding him in the middle of the room. Okay, that's what you were talking about. Finish the hacking system.
Yep.
20 flips her terminal. I had cameras on display. 7 puts down her sword, watching the android rise and mindlessly pound the cage wall. Never seen a recon use herself as bait. She walks up to that android, now looking clearly like a human kid. The rags on him resemble the group they saw earlier, albeit in sorry shape. 20 knocks the walls, attracting his attention. The kid shifts focus to her face. His smacks leave prints on the transparent wall, eyes glaring red, and all the rage in his screams only amounts to squeals torn into static. Shiver courses through 20. It's hard to scan through this, but reading massive overload signals, malfunctions from the looks of it. Infection. 11, now beside her, pushes his rifle on the wall, aiming at the kid's head. I'll end his suffering. The pounding escalates to shoulder bashing. The rifle gets dragged downwards. 20's grip got it a hostage, not while I can hack through. 11 catches her arms, attempting to get it off. There's no precedent of eliminating the virus. 20 pulls the rifle, closing the distance between their faces. Someone has to be first. Do you realize what damage an infected recon can do? What's the point of support if they can't? 20 holds her thoughts. I squeal aside and faces the red eyes, flashing hot to the point of blinding, and a kick pushes her away from that red line of sight. Careful. 11 also pushed back from his kick, glances at the power supply ahead of the kid, which overloads, explodes, turning half of the room dark. While the red eyes power down a notch, he hears the wall screeching 20 and finds her tackling the kid while the walls shoot up again, repelling his arms reaching the woman. Spellbound by the fight, she allows herself to drop over the kid facing.
This is the part. This ends. This is the end of the part, like the conflict between 20 and 11.
But they're still
20 saves the kid later, but the problem is that she passes out from overload, and she wakes up to see her squad surrounded because she chose to save the infected kid. They were stuck defending her the entire time.
So what is this here? Is this a continuation of the scene, or is a new scene begun?
It's a continuation, but it's kind of a separate part.
How
This
so?
is when she hacks into the kid and saves him, but then passes out. And they're inside the reinforced area where she trapped the kid first. So her squad couldn't get in to get her out. They had to defend her for a long time.
Okay, so the beats of this...
Basically, she put them in danger because she chose to save the kid.
And that becomes... Is that supposed to be clear here? So the walls shoot up again, repelling his arm. Is there some sort of time gap here?
No, she's inside right now, and no, it's
Okay.
right
so
away.
Then we have not left this conflict if the scene is continued.
No,
Okay. So then
we haven't left the conflict, but 11 got occupied with defending her.
do you see how that's confusing? Like if we're still in the conflict, but you're saying the conflict is ended?
It's not exactly ended, but something like one of them made a choice, and the other has no way of going against.
Okay. So let me continue reading here. Is this... So the rest of this, is this all part of that scene?
Yes.
So let me ask you this. So she makes the choice to... So here, power supply overloads, red power, here's the walls, here 20, and finds her tackling the kid. The walls shoot up again. So here, 20 chooses to save the kid, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Save the kid. Okay, so that's key choice. What's happening
Yes.
in the rest of this? Like, what's kind of the key decision that's being made from here forward?
She's fighting the infected kid. She's hacking into him and trying to cure him, which is a first time thing.
Okay, sure. So so then the conflict is continuing. So then it's the core conflict isn't against 20 versus 11. The core conflict is 20 versus this kid, because she's trying to save him and the kid is attacking against her, pushing against.
The visual one, yes, but the philosophical one isn't that much, yes. Like, the key conflict here is between her and 11, which kind of continues after she passes out. She successfully hacks the kid and passes out. But when she wakes up, she does prove 11's point of this whole thing being problematic, because she and her squad are now trapped and surrounded by enemies, and it's very hard to leave.
Mm-hmm. So, where does she actually pass out? Do we...
When you see numbers, that's when she passes out.
Hold on. Wait. Where did I go?
I think it's above. Yeah, I have notes here, so it's above. It's
Gotcha. Here.
Yeah, here.
Okay, so all of this is still continued in that same moment of conflict.
Yes.
Okay.
But all of this is drafts, and a lot of it might be deleted later. I already have in mind some things I want to delete. So
Well, that's fine. What I'm trying to get here... Okay, so let me kind of just explain what I'm trying to do is... The reason I'm asking for your climaxes and your outline, the reason I'm trying to find your scene choices is like those decision points help me understand where our story turns are, right? So if
Sure.
I can understand where these big decisions are, then it starts to help me get a sense of where the actual turning points are in your story. And if I can get a sense of where the turning points are in your story, where those big decisions are, then it helps me get a much, much clearer sense of what's going on in your story. Because, I'm not against you having, you want to have this squad of characters. I'm not against that. You want to have these like multiple missions they're going through. I'm not against any of that. What I am, I guess, against, quote unquote, with air quotes, is like not knowing where my story turning points are. So one thing that would be helpful for me and could also potentially be helpful for you in understanding what you need to keep and what you need to get rid of is understanding stuff like this. Where is that exact moment of choice? And so in this case, 20 going in to grab this kid under the force field thing, that's a big moment of choice because now she's going against what 11 wants and making this decision. And so if you were able to go into this outline, let's say, and to say, okay, which of these bullet points are you sort of explaining a scene versus which of these bullet points are a character making an important decision? I don't need you to necessarily have one key main character. All I'm needing from you is to be able to note to me where those key choice points are, where those key decisions are. Because if I can understand that, I can understand what's going on in your story. But it makes it hard for me to see what's going on when I don't know where those choice points are.
I fully agree with you. That's why I'm asking for your help.
Yeah, okay.
The thing is with the bullet points they're either key scenes or they're a build-up for one.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of my shortest story, and I'm trying to not add anything that is outside the point.
Mm-hmm.
Another key point here, I'll try to highlight the most important ones. It's in the beginning when 7 threatens to inherit 5's position. It's also written.
Yeah, where it's the if 5 doesn't confirm her role, 7 will take it, right? Yes.
Yeah.
So this
because
totally,
7
this
is right after 5. Yeah.
Yes. 5 becomes captain. That's absolutely a key choice.
Yes. Sorry.
So yeah, let's find these key choices, because if we can find these key choices, it gives us a much clearer sense of. Now we separate it out from bullet points that could be both build up, scene explanations, and key choices into where those key choices really are.
Sure, thank you. So.
Okay, so here's.
I think the third one. Yeah.
The ground forces react to the alphas. Alphas model was never seen before. The alphas get held under gunpoint and decide to knock out the ground forces when negotiations prove fruitless. Who are the alphas?
The alphas are the squad we're talking about.
Excellent. Okay. So then this is another key choice here, right? They are making a decision as denoted.
I wouldn't say so. It's more of a build-up here.
Okay. So
they decide to do that, but it's not like there was another choice. The other choice was their death, which is not like it was obvious. It was just a build-up. It's to introduce that there are ground forces and they're not very familiar with the official military per se, and that there is a threat of infection because they suspect these androids being either something like either mutants or infected.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really clearly declared here, but they do they are hostile and they give a reason that you don't look normal and you might be something we're not used to. You might be a threat.
Sure.
So it's a build-up that explains the world more.
I understand. I do think it's important to note, and I understand your point about it's not really a choice if the option is death or do this thing. I understand that, but it also is a choice because they are choosing to act, right? They are choosing to not die. They are choosing to act instead of accepting death, which I know I'm getting picky there, but it is important to note that they actions are choices, and so the fact that they choose this is good to know. It's a smaller choice, and it could be, let's say, a build-up choice, like you're talking about, but it is the scene choice here, right? Like, what ends the conflict of this individual moment? The fact that they decide to fight the ground forces.
Right. I can't say it's a build-up choice, but the reason I don't say it's a choice because you encounter this like on every scene, basically. Like in the beginning, 5 chooses to become a captain, then chooses multiple times to find a way out, which was where the other choice was there. So it's more of a frequency thing.
Sure.
If it makes sense.
Sure. But most scenes will, like most working functional scenes will have that key choice in them. And it's important to understand where that is, because then you're able to know when a scene is supposed to end and a new one can begin. Because every scene itself, like you could think about every single scene as having its own climax, right? Where that individual scene's climax is the choice being made, right? Like if you watch my How to Write a Perfect Scene video, in the Succession example I use, when the FBI are outside the building of the Waystar Royco building, the climactic choice of that scene is choosing to cooperate with the FBI, making that decision. So we build up every time.
Yeah. Thanks. I'm actually trying to do that. Thanks for the reminder.
Yeah. Excellent. And so yeah, it's like first understanding, like, okay, I have my scenes and I have choices that are being made in them. And then from there, you're just building up to a bigger choice, right? And saying, okay, rather than having just a long line of scenes that choices are happening, which that's a good start, then you build to specific big climactic scenes where usually a lot of characters are involved in the choice, and the choice has some sort of high level of stakes, which like what you're talking about here, maybe the climax of your act 1 is this, where they meet the infected kid and decide not to kill him.
Yeah.
And if that is the case, then that would be like, okay, great. Yeah. Then I could go like this and go boom, and now create a split and then say like, okay, this might be your act 1, for example, right? And now if you're able to start splitting out your story into acts, you're able to start molding and shifting and honing in that story based upon where those key points of conflict are happening. And then you're getting away from the like just one massive string of bullet points into like, okay, I can kind of make this an act 1. Now I can kind of find, okay, where might this next act climax, and then where might the next act climax, and then suddenly you're starting to build that clarity not only for yourself, but that clarity also comes back into how you hone in the writing and how you make it clear for other people to read.
Thanks. That's what I'm asking her for. Thanks.
Cool.
I think the next one. By the way, the first choice, 5's choice, is actually a very important one, but I think it won't be clear because it's just the beginning. So like people don't know who 5 is or 7 is, but it is, relatively speaking. If you reread the story, it will feel like more heavy.
Okay.
I think I missed the climax here between the first one and the second. It's when they decided to defect.
Where is that?
After the intimate moment. After the intimate moment between 11 and 7.
Here, they defect.
Yes.
Okay. So are you seeing that as your act 1 climax? Or are you seeing that as like a separate act climax, like an act 2 climax?
It's a separate one.
Okay. So then this would essentially be, this would be act 2. This would be act 1. And then they defect here. So this would begin act 3. Where do you think the next act climax would be?
I'm trying to check.
Sure.
There is a climactic moment without much decision. Like, not as much as the ones before. It's when 20 sacrifices herself, and I think the final one after it is the very ending.
Where does 20 sacrifice herself? Let's see. I'm not seeing that point where
It's before that.
20
Yeah.
has the wrist device. 20 decides to openly hack and hold everyone back. 20 manages to both hack and blow up their man.
Yeah, that's probably it.
The remaining 2 now. Okay, so this line is where 20 dies?
Yes.
Okay. So, and that's another...
And there is an important moment. Yeah.
This is another thing with how you're actually writing like the physical sentence structure is when you're writing the sentence and you have such a key moment like 20 dies, yet you don't she manages to both hack and blow out the remaining barricades, and GF member who snuck with her survives thanks to the like you're saying that someone else survived, you're talking about 5 and 7, but you never say in simplicity 20 dies, right? And like that is very important. There's a sense of like, oh, I don't want to do that because it makes my story lame or whatever. No, we need the clarity, right? If a very key character here is dying, it's quite important, especially in the outline, to write those 2 words. 20 dies, because this is if I saw one bullet point that said 20 dies, I'd be like, oh wow, clearly that's a massive moment in the story.
Thanks for the note. It's actually not that I find it silly. It's more like a focus issue. I forget which details are important or not.
Okay.
The importance of them, it slips my mind.
That's fine.
There is another important moment. It's when the alphas find out that they're stress test subjects. I'm trying to find which line is it. It should be around that because it's right before 20 died.
Okay.
20 tells them.
Um,
I'm trying to find. Yeah, 20 reveals that the alphas are prototypes. It's like around the middle between the first and second one here. Yeah, this one.
20 reveals that the alphas are prototypes, not frontliners. And
The reason they were
probably a trap. They better not venture far to. So how is that a key? Explain to me how this is a key point.
You mentioned a lot of missions and back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
That was a stress test. Like it was at first, it sounded like just a normal mission that went crazy, and then they were assigned another and another.
Mm-hmm.
Then they find out that all of this is just stress testing because they're the first of their generation and they're disposable.
And that's what this line is saying.
Yes.
All these missions have been stress tests, and that they are disposable. See, when you're speaking it to me, you're explaining to me the most important piece, right? And I think that's important to remember, like, you know, your brain is not broken. You can explain the key beat here, right? And I say that because I want you to know that you can do this. Like, you can find that key piece. Like, they find out.
I can, but what helped me right now is you asking me questions.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. It's because I usually don't have someone to ask me, so the importance of all these bullet points is kind of mashed up together. So it's hard for me to focus on which was important and which was not.
For sure. So let me ask you this, since I'm doing my best to ask you the important questions. Is this fully one single act, or do you think there's a... you mentioned this as a potential climax where you said they arrived, cleared the area to find 11 dead for hours, protecting 7. Is this a climax?
Yes, yes, I think this is a climax and the end of an act.
Okay. So maybe it's like this. Okay. Let's continue then. After 20 dies, where do you feel is the next climactic moment?
The end, because only 7 and 5 are left. Yeah, this here. Oh,
This
this
here?
is some notes about changing the plot a little bit. Yeah,
So this last bullet point's the end?
this entire yeah. Don't mind the excessive explanation. Let's
They had received
focus again.
the last
But
bit
I
of
think the
20.
entire act here is very busy. The entire act is a climax of sort, but this is the highlight moment,
Okay.
per se.
So what's the, let's see, what would you say in this block of text is the most important line of this text block?
There was a line where 7 asked 5 if she wants to live. And that was after a couple of more questions. Should be around there. Yes, here.
Do you want to live? And
It's important to combine it with the ones before it, because this doesn't happen randomly. It's the build-up of the entire story, and more specifically, it's when 7's dying and 5 is frozen again, just like she was in the beginning. So this time, instead of freezing, she actually does make a move.
Okay. Unleashing the barrage on the mutants, but all of a sudden she gets grabbed, tackled, and thrown away. It was 7 with her self-destruct on, telling her to live before blowing everything in sight. So this is the key choice.
This is for 7. For 5, it was the question, do you want to live?
Right. But for thinking about this from the plot, like this is our climax right here. 7 chooses to sacrifice herself for 5.
I would say the part where do you want to live is more of a climax.
Well, but that's not but she's not making that decision there, no?
She is. 5 is making her biggest decision because she was completely frozen, that she couldn't move, and that's where she made a move.
Okay. So you would say this is 5, let's say this is 5's climactic choice. And then this right here, 7, where she chooses to sacrifice herself. This is 7's climactic choice.
And it's important for 7 because she was mostly on the selfish side the entire story, but now she decides to help someone else at the cost of her life.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Cool. Okay, so that gives you essentially, right now, 5 acts and 5 climaxes of some level. Now, what we would do next, to continue this forth, would be, we would actually start to come in here and say, okay, what is the inciting incident of each of these acts, right? So, if we've now decided, like, this is climax, this is climax, this is climax, this is climax, and this is, let's say, I'm gonna we'll grab where does this really start? Receive 20's plan, blowing up a Rihanna to command to receive mutant bag, overpowering them with ease, take a different approach, visually challenging mutants when surviving 5 minutes should be the subject of the side, no way on the ground. Okay, I'm just gonna pull it here and say this kind of begins our climax, and then I have our climactic choices built there. So now the idea would be we can come back up and say, okay, what's the inciting problem? So we have kind of big choice that's made at the end each time, but what problem actually gets us started? So what I would say in the beginning is this is our inciting incident for our first one. The inciting incident is that the captain dies. And
Yeah.
Let's say 5 must take over. Boom.
Yeah.
Right, so that's our inciting incident of the story.
Yes.
Act 2, let's talk about this Act 2. So, let's see. Captain splits with them for after a call. GRF's captain split. They take the kid, now awake, back to the GRF's camp. They receive a warm welcome and leave. And the kid remains with GRF, but held captive. Locked because of infection suspicions. The third mission received. They find a place to stay. So maybe is the inciting incident the third mission? They're given another mission?
Yeah.
Okay. Inciting incident. Given third mission.
It's hard to set an inciting incident for this because it's this one is a build-up.
Well,
Like
you can
they
also think
are
about it
kind
as-
of tired by now, and yeah, they're kind of tired. It's their third mission, and they're going nowhere, and it's just getting crazier. So all of this takes a toll on them, and they 7 and 11 make their the choice of intimacy, and the other two choose to stay with them. Like they were ordered to kill them, or no, it was no. I think the old version was that. 7 and 11 have their detonators on, and they were gonna be destroyed.
Okay.
20 decides to hack into them, and 5 joins them. She decides to go with the team instead of trying to follow orders.
And where is that?
It's the entire act.
Okay. So is this really just the beginning of, like, would you say these are actually one act? Because this might be initial choice, right? Where they defect when the report risks their lives, and then we go into this, unless they get targeted by a tide, which seems like an inciting problem.
This was a new problem. This was a temporary problem that happened when they defected, when
Here?
they decided to defect. I would say the defection is an important choice, but I had a problem explaining that because they're sent on a mission, and their military is so strict to the point that 7 couldn't wear what she wants. And they don't even have names. They don't have. So it is a major decision. But I had a problem explaining it in text. I can just show it per se. I'm more of a visual thinker, so writing all this down is kind of chaotic for me.
Well, if you're going to be a writer,
It's hard to say.
if you're going to be a writer, it's helpful to be able to think in words.
I could what?
I said if you're going to be a writer, it's helpful to be able to
Hello,
think
am I
in those
still
words.
online?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. It's possible my internet connection likes to freak out
I'm
when I
listening.
try to live
You were
stream.
saying?
Well, no. So I'm just trying to understand some of these beats here. So, what if it kind of feels like this first piece might be part of your Act 3 here, where you have their new goal, essentially your story circle beat 2, would be that they're given this third mission. Maybe what if this problem here, they get targeted by a tide of mutants? Could that happen before this, when the report risks 7-Eleven's lives? How is this?
It
Or
will take.
are they defecting against the new
The moment
mission?
was already busy. Oh, the defection was already busy enough, per se.
No,
Like it had the 7 and 11 were about to be detonated, and 20 and 5 had to make a decision in the moment. So I think it was busy enough.
well, are they defecting because of this new mission, or are they defecting for another reason?
They're defecting because 7 and 11 decided to spend the night together. And it was against the rules. So they were decided to be disposed of when they reported to command. And 20 saved them. 5 initially, and like eventually she joined them.
Okay.
That's how it happened.
And so because they make this choice, then the mutants come.
It's the mutants are always there, but it was a chance. They were alone and they had their guard down for a bit, so that was a perfect moment for the mutants to show up. But the mutant sport is not really important. The important one is the ground forces captain breaking an opening for them, and they join the camp.
Okay, so this is a key choice, right? Key choice here. So I'm just
For the captain, yes.
right. I'm again. I'm just as much as possible trying to follow the logic of this story.
But I appreciate it. I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Is there a way for an act to be a sub-act of another? I think that this would work
Well-
the best between Act 2 and 3.
I think I don't think you want to try and create like yeah, the short answer is yes, it is possible to do that, but I think it's really helpful for you to say, okay, well, I want this story to be clear and legible and simple first, because if you are trying to constantly bend the rules to make a more complex story work, it ends up being more difficult for your readers in the end, and more difficult for you to understand what you want to fix, what you want to keep, that kind of stuff.
But
So to me, I think it's probably more this is probably not that huge of a choice. Well, I mean, it is kind of... Well, okay, why would the captain break an opening for them if they've defected?
they saved the kid. The kid was ground forces. So it kind of cleared their name for a bit. But
Okay.
they were kicked out back then. The ground forces were still suspicious of them and the kid, since the kid was infected.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like the ground forces had their own the thought process, and they decided to help them later.
Gotcha. Okay, so yeah, so this seems like a scene you can keep, but it is a smaller... To me, I think this is one act, where there's not actually two acts here, where you have... essentially you have like a sub-choice about this defection.
Correct.
And then the real sort of circle here is like, they're given this third mission, but then big new problem, they're targeted by a tide of mutants. The captain breaks an opening for them, and then I think this is your like 5 goal achieved here, where the alphas get name recognition based on, you said, number resemblance or habits, and then kids react at risk. They initiate mission to rescue him. So then this is 6 surprise problem here. So then this is actually one act with this is like a big choice, but it's not actually it's more of a scene choice here, right? It's part of their 7 and 11's intimate moment here. So then they have this choice here, but then big problem of the act is targeted by the tide. Captain helps them. Goal achieved. They get name recognition. Surprise problem. Kids react at risk. They initiate the mission to rescue him. And then from here through here, we're going into the climax of we need to go save the kid. They're going to save the kid. We find him. All that jazz happens, and then this ends up being Act 3. And then this ends up being Act 4. So you don't have 5 acts here. You actually have 4. Or at least potentially, assuming the other ones. So this is essentially what I'm trying to do, right? So then now what this allows you to say is like, okay, I can start to fold in certain beats here and get a little bit better. Like, for example, the GRS hesitate because the plan is risky. That is you describing what's going on, not as big a beat as something like your climactic piece, right? Like 11 dying. So it's like understanding the essentially hierarchy of bullet points, if you will, right? To say like, okay, this is actually a smaller piece here. So understanding that, we can start to give these bullet points a certain hierarchy that allows you to see what is important for the story, what's big moments for the story versus what's smaller moments for the story. And now you're able to actually start to form and mold this story into something that you're able to edit, right? And clarify towards, because then it becomes clearer that way.
Yeah, this helps. This certainly helps me focus. Thanks.
Cool. So just to continue, this would be your 1, right? This would be our characters again, right? Back at the camp, everyone regretting the incident, right? That sounds exactly like a reset, right? New character status quo would essentially be that. Status quo, like where are our characters? What's going on? 7 drags 20 to secretly show.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's the second time 20 makes a choice and it harms her squad. So she was the one initially recommending a plan to, like, this suicidal plan. Now the camp asks her to work towards that plan, and she is the one who refuses.
Okay. Where does she refuse? Is there a line for that here?
I'm still debating to make her outright refuse or just escape in this situation, because she would be hesitant, but I'm not sure which is better to do here. It's probably the first one.
She backs off, feeling like her heroics has put everyone in danger.
Yeah.
So can you explain in clearer language what? So the choices that she is doing what now?
She's the one who recommended a plan for the camp to fight the mutants, so they would have more peace.
So
now she's having second thoughts, because both times she made such choice, the first time with the infected kid and the second with the 11, the results were the outcome was very dangerous. The first time her entire squad got locked up, and the second time 11 died.
So 7 is convincing her to keep with her plan in this line. 7 drags 20 to show her.
She's showing her the positive side.
Right.
Thanks.
So then here the choice is they go with the plan. The plan is initiated.
Yes.
So this would be your 2.
Yes.
This is goal set. Goal set, want established. There's a lot of ways to say this, but here it's okay. We're going with the plan.
Yeah.
And so then 20 reveals the alpha sort of prototypes. 5 decides to use whatever tribe is there against them. They get momentarily shocked to find the infected GRFs, and the waiting manage to set them up together. So maybe this is our new problem, our 3. They find the infected GRFs in the waiting, but manage to set them up. Is that essentially like they're able to beat them?
I think it would be the one after it, or the one before the climax.
Put an end to their conversations. Whoever remains moves ahead as the target location close to their location. First device. Final destination face serious hacking challenge. And 20 said openly hack and hold everyone back. She can take the fall. It also reveals her infection. So this is probably your 6. Surprise problem. Surprise problem is 20 is infected.
It's hard to describe this, because she's revealed that she's infected when she decides to sacrifice herself.
So then she sacrificed herself because, well, that's later on, right? Or is that right here?
She sacrifices herself partially because she's infected and partially because
Oh, 20 dies, right? It's right here.
like they met a big block in the road. Hard to explain that.
No, that's fine. So that makes sense. So she dies. She makes the choice to die, and the climax, and then
Yes.
it is 20 is infected. So we don't learn that immediately, but that is kind of why she openly hacks and holds everyone back so she can take the fall. Right? That is happening here.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, I think, there's still some more and more clarity that can be built in here.
Yeah.
And I'm probably gonna move on to someone else because we spent a good chunk of time on this. But hopefully that starts to help you see kind of what I'm trying to visualize here. Is I'm not trying to pick on you, but I think there's a
No, it's actually very helpful. It's why I asked it. So thanks a lot.
for sure. Yeah, like the more, and I think go ahead.
Yeah.
I think the more.
I just want your opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
I want your opinion about the current state of the story. Also, there is the notes below. There are tweaks I want to add that to the story.
Here.
Yeah, right after the arms. Here. Yeah.
So regarding the ground forces and the one who ends up with 20, there's a guy called Codex who's a mysterious scientist originally from the Jurassic who got exiled. He roams around in risky areas. It's hard to believe how he can in. His encounter with the Alpha involves a lie detector and using it to ask 5 to wearing stolen panties. Interesting. Luring them to a dangerous place where they defected before taking them to the camp. He proves that it was safe enough for children to set out. I mean, this definitely gives you a more clear opponent. Like an actual person that isn't just mutants.
Yeah, it's a missing person. Like I needed a missing whatever. I needed a link with the ground forces, and I thought using a character like this is the best option.
Yeah, I think you could do that.
All right. Can you give me feedback or rating for the current state of the story?
Feedback or rating? Here's what I would say. I think that there's two things. Instead of giving you a rating right now, I am going to tell you what I think you need to work on because I think that's the most pertinent thing right now. So there's two big pieces. There's piece one, which is your actual sentence structure. Okay, like it makes it difficult to understand where we need to be working because the sentences that you write have a certain vagueness to them where you're kind of all over the place in them. Now, that's okay when you're writing it for the first time, but just like I'm showing in here, like with 20 dies, okay? And this is for everybody watching the stream. When you're writing a sentence for a story, okay, and you're trying to get an understanding of a story beat, I want to see subject, verb. Okay, I want to see character, action, or character, choice. Okay, I don't need the flowery language. I don't need the beating around the bush. I don't need it to feel like a novel. And look, you can write it in whatever type of prose you want to write it when you actually are in the pages, but especially in an outline, I want to see subject and I want to see verb. If I can't get a sense of what character is making what action, it's very difficult for me to give help. So I would say focus on that. I think that's something that, like, if you went sentence by sentence on this outline and was like, okay, what is the character? What are they doing? And you're able to clearly do that. That would work wonders for your outline. And then number two, it's another sort of element of clarity here, where what I'm trying to do here is build in some basic structure to find my key problems, to find my key choices, to find my key moments of climax, so that not only the sentences are clear, but also the outline flow is clear. When that clarity is there, then it becomes a lot easier for us to then say, okay, how well is this story working? How are we now able to judge, or as you were asking, rate this story? And this is another reason why, for those of you that are and are not in my Discord, I highly, highly, highly recommend you take advantage of my story frameworks, which are free. If you go in the Discord, you can see them. You can see a link to them in the rules tab, and these will give you. Let me open this one up. These will give you my full sense of how to sort of construct and think about the different elements of your story. And so this gets you all the way down to a scene outline. It gets you a sense of your characters. And this allows me, this is what I use in my writers group. This is what I use in my one-on-one coaching. Like the writers there are using this particular document. And so I will hesitate to give you a rating right now, Complex, but I really appreciate you bringing your story forward, and I hope this has been helpful for you today. All right. Okay. So I know we had a couple other requests here in the old Discord. Let's see what we've got here. I believe Gomtesh wanted me to take a look at something, and then I know Stevenson wanted me to take a look at something. Let's see, y'all. Oh, you guys have been chatting up a storm. That's great. Let me find this. Did I story plotted out? Figuring out how to go about it. Gomtesh, if you share the document and then request to speak, I can absolutely bring you up. And then we can also take a look at Stevenson. I'm going to go grab some water real quick. I'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Complex, do not apologize for bringing your story to me. I'm glad you took a look at it. I'm glad we were able to take a look today. All right. Let's see. Where is Gomtesh's document? Here we go. And then let me bring you up. Right to speak. Okay. Okay. Gomtesh, would you like to come up and speak? I have invited you to speak. You should be able to click the join stage button. It should be at the bottom of your screen.
Hello, hi.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Doing well. Walk me through what I'm looking at here.
Okay, so this is a story I've been writing since a couple of months now. And yeah, so I've written down the thematic argument first, and then the belief systems. And then after that, I have the story circles for each of the acts.
Excellent. So let's walk me through these different pieces as we come down to give people a sense of your story.
Okay, so this my story revolves around dance as an art form, and the main character and the opponent, both of them are dancers. So I'm trying to explore dance as a form and also as an art form, and I'm trying to explore this question of uh, uh, what's more important for an artist. Is it pure passion, or is it audience validation? It's something that I've been uh, thinking about a lot, especially in India. A lot of importance is given to audience validation, not just in dance, but in also making movies and every other art forms as well. So I myself have been struggling with that thought. Should I just pursue passion and not worry about catering to the audience here, or should I focus on catering to the audience and in the process, letting go of uh, what I want to say, which is quite different. It's very conflicting here in my environment here. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to give each of my characters, uh, actually both at the moment I see both of them as my main characters, but I'm trying to focus on one of them as the main character. Um, but I'm trying to give each one of my main characters, opposing viewpoints. One, the boy is hung upon pure passion, whereas the girl is, seeking, constantly seeking audience validation, right? Uh, and I want to put them both together and see what can be interesting. I mean, how do they figure it out? Um, yeah. So the main problem I'm having is to how do I? Um, I mean, you can go through the plot and see what I've done so far, because I've lost a little bit of judgment on if I am going in the right direction. That's the
Sure.
first thing. And also at the same time, I want to see if I'm doing the uh, how do I put it? If I'm doing the most effective dramatic narration that can come out of these two viewpoints uh, that are in question.
Cool. Okay, so let's walk through this plot. Walk me through these beats here, and I'll stop you if I have a note.
Sure. Okay. So I'm introducing the characters first in the opening sequence. The girl is a confident extrovert. She's multi-talented. She's a singer, she's a dancer, and a theater actor. I'm trying to introduce her as a confused person. She's good at everything, but her main goal is to, uh, she because she's constantly seeking audiences validation. For her it's all about gaining fame and satisfying her audience. So she's grown up being multi-talented, whereas the boy is a shy introvert, but he's an excellent dancer. He dances solo, he dances by himself, and he's always lost and improving his form, right? And then I have the girl's want. uh, Yeah, so she wants to become famous and constantly seeks audiences' attention and validation on social media and also in real life. Her lie, her misbelief, she believes that the audience's validation is crucial and they know better, and which leads her to, catering to her audience.
Excellent.
While the boy is a passionate dancer, constantly learning, and he rejects seeking validation. So if anyone has any feedback for him, he ignores them, he looks down upon them, stuff like that. And he prefers to be a solo dancer. His misbelief is that he believes the audience's validation corrupts art, and he doesn't take any feedback.
Excellent.
right? And then so the inciting problem is when the girl moves to the boys' town. She joins the same college as the boy, and during a dance competition, she watches the boy perform and is super impressed. I'm trying to force the boy to perform at this competition. So initially, he's hesitating to perform, but his friends force him to do it, and a bit of a show off kind of a thing there happens. And he performs, and the girl watches him perform, and she's
Yeah,
super
that's
impressed.
interesting on exactly what makes him do it, since his whole belief is not doing
Right.
it.
Yeah, yeah. That's another point I am a little conflicted on, but I'm trying to show that as um he's kind of being forced to do it,
Well, if
and
it's a
when he
college
comes.
competition, then maybe it's something he has to do for his major.
Right, right. I'm still trying to figure that out, but I know that there is a little bit of a problem there because he doesn't believe in validation, competitions, and all of this. He finds them silly. Um, but so he's going to be a bit of a show off when he does this. Um, yeah, I'm still not thought through this. It's a little half baked right now, and I agree that there is a little bit of a
Well, I
uh,
think the easiest version is just the university he's attending is making him do the stance competition, and so he just doesn't really have a
right,
choice from that. It's like if he wants to be in this, if he wants to take
right.
this major, he has to do the stance competition. That's just part of it, and so, um,
That
so
makes
then,
sense. Yeah,
so then he
yeah.
does it, and then so she watches him do this initial performance, and then she wants to learn from him from this point.
Right.
Okay,
That's a really good suggestion. Yeah, yeah. Mhm.
cool.
So she watches him dance, and then she's like super impressed, and she's desperate, and she has this. Uh, she she's like, okay, if I learn from him, then I'm gonna, it's gonna help me gain this talent, and it's gonna help me in the overall in the long run. That's what she decides to do.
Hmm.
So what she does is she starts following the boy, uh, and she sees him rehearsing something by himself, which is something that she's not seen. Nobody has seen him do this, so it's a little offbeat, and something that is still a work in progress. So she approaches him and asks him to teach her. He refuses, tells her he has no time to teach. He prefers to train solo. The girl persists. So there's a little bit of this back and forth that happens.
Hmm.
She watches him perform, and she rehearses all by herself. So what she does is she watches him perform, goes back home, and she kind of mimics him, and she gets a little good at it.
Mm.
Then one day, when he is again ignoring her, she shows him her moves. I'm trying to make this all a little bit interesting and dramatic and a little entertaining
Yeah.
with a little bit of humor and things like that. Uh, the boy is not impressed with her performance, but he's impressed with her sincerity because, she's genuine. That's what it kind of comes across. So then he finally agrees to teach her, but he tells her that this has to be a secret, and it cannot be, you cannot reveal this to anyone, what he's doing, because it's a work in progress.
Hmm.
So she's happy, and then,
What makes him
go on.
decide? What makes him decide to teach her?
Uh, okay. So okay, so he is a little impressed that she's able to imitate him without really uh, uh, having the formal training that he has,
Mm.
and seeing that sincerity, he agrees. I don't know if this is concrete enough, but
I mean,
yeah, this is what I have for now. Yeah.
maybe that's strong enough. Okay, let's continue.
Okay. Okay. So at 5 of Act 1, they both are training and rehearsing together. And since the girl is talented, she's beginning to pick it up fast. Again, here, the surprise problem, I still am working on this element here.
I like this. What I'm seeing on screen though, that she gets good and begins
Okay,
to outform him. That's great.
okay, okay. Actually, I don't know how the boy reacts to this. Going by his uh, belief that it's all about pure passion, technically I think he should be impressed and not find it intimidating.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So at the moment I have him, he's all for it, and he's happy that things are she's doing well, and it's also helping him um, perform better than
Totally.
what he was as a solo writer. So sorry, as a solo dancer. So the climactic choice at this act is that he goes all out, and he's happy at her progress and both their progress. You know. So yeah, so the end of Act One, they become an incredible team. I think the dramatic question at this point is raised whether they will together, uh, you know, be who they are. Like, will this sustain?
Totally.
Something of that sort.
I like this start a lot. Um,
Okay.
yeah. So,
All right.
and I'm imagining this scene here of this kind of 6-7 is like she gets really good, begins to outperform him.
Mhm.
Where exactly you're wanting that to be, whether that's so it would be interesting to say, is just them in a rehearsal, or is this them within the context of like their college course? They have to do some sort of
Right.
lesson, and she outperform, like she gets I think you could bring in some of the external validation here, where
Mhm.
this, like, what happens is, because if we start off, I think using the idea that they're going to the same college is the right thing to do, and I think you make this a college dance competition. Then you could
Mhm.
make this piece here at the end of Act One, another sort of thing that they are being rated, like a professor is having to rate their performance, and she ends up getting a higher score, validating herself externally, because again, right, that audience validation, she gets that. She
Mhm.
thinks that that's going to bother him, but I think you play it
Right.
like kind of how you have, where he's like, no, I don't care, like I don't even want to be at this
Yeah.
college, right? I'm just here because it allows me to get to continue dancing without working a job or something, right? And so he's like, no, I don't care. And so then, like, for this moment, they are this incredible team, and like they're not yet
Mhm.
in that
Yeah.
conflict.
Yeah. Awesome. That's a really good suggestion right there. Yeah. Yeah. It works. I have a little bit of a conflict beginning at the end of sorry, in the beginning of Act Two. I'll continue that for now. Um, so as soon as Act Two begins, uh, we have the continuation. The boy and the girl are dancing together, and they're getting close to each other. I'm trying to bring the emotional stakes of the story now, which is the love angle between the boy and the girl. And I'm not fully on board with this, but I feel a good, interesting angle will be the boy starting to fall for the girl at this point. You know, uh, and that's what the one that's what starts brewing for the boy, at least only from his side. I mean, the girl still is focused on her own thing. Uh, and then uh, at this point, the boy starts, he's an introvert guy, so he starts opening up to the girl, and he talks about how he wants to, get better at his dance, and he dreams of studying abroad. So there is this dance school in Cyprus, which is supposed to be one of these really good dance schools. So he tells her that he wants to go there and study, and the girl encourages him, and after that, the boy gains some confidence and applies. There's also this angle where he needs a scholarship. He's not a well-to-do in terms of family and stuff. So yeah, that angle might I might introduce that angle as well. That happens, and then we have the inciting problem wherein the girl starts to get impatient. She wants to showcase their work to an audience. So that bit is introduced here. She suggests that they enroll and perform at college competitions, or perform
Yeah,
at gigs.
totally.
One of these, yeah, and one of these things. The boy is hesitant. He tells her that they are not ready yet and they still need to work hard. Um, he also, like this is where his real belief, of what these competitions mean and
Yeah,
all of that starts to come up.
totally.
And the girl finds this, uh, she's not very happy with this and she starts to get impatient. And I have this whole social media angle going on as well for the girl, wherein, she's a little bit of an influencer on social media.
Mm.
So she's getting a little fidgety about that as well, that, she needs to start putting something out there that is going to, surprise and impress her social media audience. So all that starts coming up here. She tries to convince him, telling him that the audience will love it, but the boy disagrees, and he kind of, scolds her and tells her that she's still an amateur and she still needs to work hard. This kind of annoys the girl. This motivates her to prove him wrong. So one day, as they are rehearsing, she records their performance on her phone secretly, and she puts it out on her Instagram profile. She's like, "Enough is enough. I'm going to prove this guy that he's wrong and that she's good enough." So she does this act, this immoral act. Uh, and then the video goes viral,
Yeah.
gaining a lot of attention from everyone around, the country. The girl tells him that, and then she confronts the guy and the boy, and she tells him, "See, I told you, the video has gone popular, and that they are good enough." And he was overthinking all of this. He tried subtly, in quotes, tries to gaslight him. The boy furious, but he again here I'm a little, again, this is where I wanted your help. I do not know how do I go about this. The boy is furious but doesn't say anything to her. I think this is me being a little too convenient.
I think this is where
This is
they
what
split. I think this is where they split.
this is where they should split. Okay.
Yes. So this is our midpoint, right? So,
Yeah.
so
There's another important event happening. If you go to the surprise problem, she gains more popularity, and the boy gets overshadowed in the process,
sure.
right? Again, typical, something that really happens a lot in our country, where the girl gets more popular. So I'm bringing that as an element as well. And in the process, she bags a movie offer. There is this one guy. I'm introducing another character here, another main character, although secondary to the two main characters. He's the son of a very big producer who runs a huge studio in the country. This boy approaches her and tells that he wants her as an actress for his debut film, And at the same time, I don't know if I'm doing too much here, but at the same time, our boy gets an offer from the dance school from Cyprus. He's backed the scholarship and they want him there. You know, uh,
Yeah.
and so I'm bringing the boy coming to her about. Okay, there's another climactic choice that I'm taking here. The boy rejects the scholarship to continue dancing with the girl.
Yeah.
Now I'm not. Yeah, go on, please.
I wouldn't go in that direction.
Right. Okay.
Well, okay, okay. So I like a lot of this. So just to be clear, just to gain clarity on what your midpoint is fundamentally, your midpoint is kind of going to be the 5, 6, 7 together, right? Because this creates the climactic movement of your second act, right? Like these kind of three main beats together, right? Your goal achieved, your surprise problem, and your climactic choice. This is the climactic movement of Act 2 and also your midpoint in a 4-act structure. So this is the big 5. Video goes viral, gaining a lot of attention. The girl gets what she wanted, but this is when he's furious. You mentioned that he doesn't say anything to her. I think it's. So, okay, there's a few different ways this can play. Either one, you have this play where this is where they break things off, and then we go into the third act of 4 where they are separated. Or you have a situation where the boy starts putting his love for her over his passion for the art, and he ends up following along. He ends up going along to get along because he's in love with her. And so then in that version, he's making a choice about his feelings for her over even though he is fundamentally conflicted with what she's doing, right? That's a version you could take, or you do the version where, you know, she gets approached for the first film, and at the same time, the boy is like, I don't want all this, you know, or I don't want to do all this stuff. Well, okay, this also comes into this idea of what do you really mean when you're saying that he is, you know, he believes that like the passion and that purism is the ultimate goal, because because he believes in that, it doesn't mean that he cannot go along with these external goals. It means it's more that he doesn't want to take the feedback that would fundamentally change what he's doing away from his passion and towards becoming yet another sort of quote unquote sellout, right? So it's not that he couldn't, you know, like be in a movie or whatever. It's more that he doesn't want to be in a situation where where like the money or the marketing or the selling aspect of it is overshadowing why he wanted to do this in the first place. So I think there's a couple directions you could take in this. It might be interesting if you make this a thing where he ends up choosing to go along to get along, right? Actually, what you have, right? He rejects the scholarship to continue dancing with her because he's in love with her. But then you have the climax of your Act 3 could be, you know, they actually split, right? And then we can go into the final Act 4 where they kind of come back together again or something. But either the midpoint, to me, I think it's like this. Either the midpoint is where they have their big split and then they're kind of separate Act 3 and then maybe come together Act 4, or the midpoint is where he knows that this is the wrong direction. He doesn't want to go in this direction because he knows it's going to be people, you know, with all of their comments and all of their positions and all of that. But he goes along with it anyways because of how he feels about her.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, perfect. Awesome. I was a little conflicted about which direction to take, and I'm getting a good validation myself speaking to you about this. So can this happen? Like what I have written right now, the boy rejects the scholarship to continue dancing with her. And then the boy wants to tell her how he feels about her. So he's like, cool, let's screw the scholarship, and you're right. Audience validation is key here. And then, but the girl has moved on to something else. You know, she wants to, get into this movie. So she's accepting that offer. So can that happen where the boy is changing his belief that yes, audience validation is needed, or am I taking a extreme change in direction too soon?
I don't think he needs to be changing his belief here. I think what he's doing, if he is going along with her, it's because he's essentially suppressing his own viewpoint so that he can be with the person that he is interested in.
Right, and that makes sense, right?
Yeah, I think you could go in that direction. Now, if you did want to go in that direction, I don't know. I think there's a couple. Does feel like there's a little too much happening here. Well, okay, so the girl bags the movie offer. So here's what I would probably say is, instead of the girl saying about the movie offer and that she wants to take up the offer, and then he gets all devastated and furious, maybe what happens is, so she gains more popularity, she bags the movie offer, and then so she says, hey, I want to go dance in this movie, and I want you to come with me. I want you to be my coach. I want you to be involved in the movie. And so then from that angle, then what happens is he decides to go along with it, but then Act 3 becomes Like he's in, like, now they're in this world where producers and directors and all these people are trying to give all these notes and keep them to the schedule, and it becomes totally and completely what he doesn't want it to be, right? It becomes his worst nightmare, essentially. It becomes, it's the audience writing things about the movie. It's the director talking about this. It's the producers talking about the marketing, and all of the actual reason he got into it has fallen apart. And then the climax of Act 3 would be where they actually split, where he says, hey, I came into this, I decided to go along with this movie thing, even though you filmed us when I didn't know you did, but I decided to come along with this because I loved you and I was here to help you. But now this has just become a big old corporate nightmare, and I don't want anything to do with this. And she says, screw you, this is my dream, blah, 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 blah. I was trying to help you, and you just want to stay in the dark your whole life, and you don't want to take notes from anybody, blah, blah, blah. And then they have the big split. And so I think that's probably what makes more sense, is rather than them having this, like, he gets super mad at her at the midpoint and, like, they kind of split ways. It's he decides to swallow his view, even though he feels like, his gut's telling him, hey, this might not be the right direction to go in. He says, okay, he doesn't tell her, let's say he still doesn't tell her he's in love with her. I think you wait for that for Act 3, but he goes along with it. And then Act 3 becomes, okay, the filmmakers, the producers, all these people, it's just notes, and it's the industry, right? Now they're in this system. And then at the end of that, he has his big confrontation, and he's like, I did this because I was in love with you, blah, 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 but screw this. And then they split, and then we go into Act 4, and I don't know what it exactly would be yet. But you go into your final act with the setup of they are now split again, right?
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, that's a great direction to take. However, I do have him coming in the third act, where and here I wanted your opinion about this as well, if I'm conveniently bringing him in. So if we can just continue Act 3, and then you tell me what you feel about this angle.
Sure.
And we'll revisit the midpoint after reading the third act.
Sure.
Okay, so let's assume that they have they have gone their separate ways at midpoint. And then we have Act 3. This is like the girl's story world now, the main character's story world. She meets this, the filmmaker. He's a debutant boy, son of a big studio producer. It's all kind of a big deal. Okay, so the film in question is a love story. It turns out that the producer, he's controlling, he's not fully satisfied. I'm trying to bring a little bit of a conflicting viewpoint here. He's not satisfied with his son's choice of casting a new amateur girl as an actress. He tells her that he'll be watching her closely. Meanwhile, the boy, hurt and disappointed, has become an arrogant cynic. I'm looking at him like Rick from Casablanca. He has stopped working on his dance forms. He's rejected the school offer as well. He teaches kids at his teacher mentor's dance school. So there is this one mentor angle from the beginning of the story. So this lady is like, again, this whole pure passion is coming from this lady. So he's emulating her. This is the angle I'm taking. It's going to resurface later as a cautionary tale for him. But at the moment, he's just teaching at this place, but he's kind of given up on working on his own dance and performing solo, which he used to do secretly. All that is gone. Again, like I've written here, I'm still working on this plot direction. Will the boy completely give up dancing, or
I'm not a huge fan of this angle here, because like now we're doing this whole. This is like this whole like, 2 years later he's doing something else. Like, I think you're just taking the air out of the balloon. I think we want to keep with the movie idea. Like, I think that works really nicely. I think this idea that like suddenly he just stops working on his dance forms because he had one fight with some girl. I don't think that makes sense. I think it makes way more sense to say. I think it makes way more sense to bring him in as like, she gets this movie deal, and then she brings him in, our main character, in as like a coach. And so now they're both we haven't like left main characters. They are both now on this set, both dealing with, you know, producer crap, let's say. And I like this idea of, you know, our director boy too. He has the father who is the producer, and now we have this controlling producer, which is that works great. So this controlling producer is the one that is focused on the bottom line. He's focused on the cash. He's focused on the marketing. He's focused on let's make a movie. And now it's becoming more of this corporate thing rather than why our main character, the boy, started in the first place. And so I think it makes way more sense to bring him along rather than like, oh, suddenly now he's teaching kids as that, like, you know, at a mentor dance school. Like I like this idea that he has a mentor, and I think you can have this mentor character that he maybe goes to or consults with or gives a phone call, and we sort of get that mentor aria, that mentor argument from there. And so like, but I don't.
What you're saying makes perfect sense actually. Yeah.
Cool.
I think you want the tension to continue, right, rather than fizzle out and this guy acting like a victim in the whole scenario, right?
Sorry, say that again. Oh, you're muted.
Taylor, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. No, so what I was saying was that what you're suggesting makes a lot of sense, of him being part of the whole thing so that the tension is sustained and not going into this whole victimhood, you know, him quitting dancing and all of that, right? That's what you were hinting at.
Yeah, I think it just, he doesn't need to quit dance school. He doesn't need to quit dance. I think like we want to keep with the direct momentum of the story. I think he goes with the girl, and like it could even be she's telling this producer at you know, in the midpoint here, like she's telling him, I will do this, but I need my coach, right? And the coach is the boy, right? And so, and I think because of that, he's like, okay, well, I'm going to go along with her because I'm in love with her, and this just keeps me close to her, even though I'm upset that she recorded me without me knowing. Like, I'm going to help her follow her dream here because, you know, I want to see her happy, and then it can their explosion can kind of happen later.
Yeah, right. So we have a little bit of dramatic irony going on with us knowing what the boy's state and what he's doing, whereas the girl has no clue about his dissatisfaction.
Yeah.
About the whole thing, right? That's what you're saying, right?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I think he's keeping quiet.
He's keeping quiet, right? Yeah. Okay. 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 Cool. That sounds good. I have this inciting problem here at Act 3. In Act 3, wherein you know this choreographer, there is this choreographer who is very hard on the girl, and she finds it difficult to work with him because she's a newbie, and this guy is like ruthless with her. I was thinking of this choreographer like Fletcher from Whiplash, and the girl wants to give up, and that's when I was trying to bring in the boy. She is forced to, you know, so the director fires the choreographer and asks her to, you know, he tells her that we'll bring someone you are happy with. That's when she goes to him. But the problem I had is that this inciting problem when the choreographer is being a prick and stuff, it might become predictable, you know, that now we know what's going to happen. She's going to bring in this guy, you know?
Yeah, I think it's instead of that, I mean, you could have like another choreographer. I think we have the boy in this act from the beginning, but I think really what the inciting problem in this Act 3 needs to be is like now we're getting into like they are making them do, let's say it's like trendy dances or whatever is popular right now or whatever is most easily marketable, right? Like whatever is happening in this inciting problem of Act 3 is essentially, hey, we're changing what you guys do away from what you guys are passionate about to the trends, or to, again, right, to do the exact thing that our main character boy does not want, which is pleasing the crowd, not really focused on the passion of it, but focused on, what people want to see first rather than, the other way around. And so I think, you can have this, I think you can have this essentially team, right? Where it's like the producer, the director, this other choreographer. I don't think you need to go like with the Fletcher Whiplash route on that choreographer. And I would actually say you go the other way, where this choreographer is like the nicest person, right? But they are the trend follower, right? And they're that kind of, they almost have that political sense to them of they kind of know what the trends are, and they just want, we just want to please the crowd. We want to do what the trends are, blah, blah, blah. Like, this is so hip right now. This is so popular. And so instead of being like, do it better, they're more of the, this is what the people want to see right now. Don't you want to do that? And that is like, now the boys frustrated, and now the girl's like, yeah, I guess that's what I want to do. Okay. And she's more down to go with it, but your boy character is the one struggling.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. That's a great suggestion actually, to go with, because now that belief of hers is going to be tested, right? So it makes absolute sense to have someone with that kind of with the one with the what's in trend and the audience validation and all of that. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
That works. Awesome. There is one thing in the choice of commitment here, what I have written, I'll just read that out. So he fires the choreographer, and then the girl knows the right guy for the job, but she's nervous to approach the boy because of, in this draft, we have them having broken up in the midpoint. So she musters up the courage and visits him. The boy gives her the cold treatment and tells her he's not interested. Dejected, the girl goes to meet his mentor, and the mentor listens to her and assures her that she will convince him. Then the mentor tells the boy that the school isn't doing well. This is coming back to the mentor. I have this mentor.
Gamtesh, I think at this point, you need to implement some of the notes I've already given, because the further we're going into the story, the more we're on beats that are going to be fundamentally different now. So I think you go ahead and kind of make some of these initial changes I've discussed, especially around the midpoint and this Act 3. And this recording will be up on YouTube, so you can take a look back at it as needed.
Sure.
But that's kind of, the more we change that midpoint and into that Act 3, the more the following beats are going to be more and more different from what you have here. So, but listen, I'm really liking this. I think you've got something that's clear. I think your viewpoints, your beliefs are very clear. They're very clearly attached to your characters. And now you've got something that's coming together nicely. So, yeah, I'm liking this a lot.
Awesome. Thank you, Trey. Yeah, I'll implement those things and see how that plays out. It's the suggestions are really, really good. I can see what you did there with the third act about bringing it all back to the core of the story. Yeah.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for hopping on.
Cool. I'll see you then. Yeah.
All right. Stevenson, it is your time to shine, sir. It has been a minute. Let's see what we've got. All right.
Hey, Tyler.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Hold on,
Can you hear me?
I can. Before we hop in, this is just kind of bothering me a bit. So we've got this guy in the chat here real quick. Let me just answer this guy's question. So Squally in the chat is like absolutely so deeply struggling about my latest video. I'm not taking away. So Squally is confused about my latest video, and he's saying that he's confused because I was mentioning don't start with philosophical conflict. And that I had given him this great idea of start with philosophical conflict, and now I'm taking it away. I'm not taking it away. If you notice on the story that we just worked on, we started from the philosophical conflict with Gamtesh's story. The purpose of that video and the purpose of me saying don't focus on philosophical conflict. It was admittedly a little clickbaity, but the purpose of that was that if you are stuck in the abstract ideas of your story and you don't have any plot, then there's something wrong, right? So that's all I'm saying. If you're doing a great job actually writing stories and connecting down a clear plot with your philosophical conflict that you start with, then that is exactly what you need to be doing. You can absolutely start with the philosophical conflict. The point is, don't get so caught up in the philosophy or these abstract ideas that you don't actually have a plot. That is fundamentally what I'm saying. If you're able to very easily get into a plot based on your theme, based on your philosophical conflict, that's perfect. If you are struggling with abstract ideas, if you are struggling with abstract philosophical ideas and you can never nail down a plot, then that's when I'm saying get away from those abstract ideas and get into plot. I hope that makes sense. And thank you, Fogarty Fox, for the £5. I appreciate it. Now, Stephen, let's go ahead and hop in here.
Okay, can you hear me right?
I sure can.
Okay, good. I know you don't have much time left, but I do have, hoping you can have like a brief look over my newest story framework.
Sure.
I already posted it in the chat.
I've got it up.
I'm really curious to see what you think about it.
Yeah. Okay, walk me through this story here.
Okay, well, first of all, in case you can't pronounce the name, it's pronounced Yasumu Hana.
Okay.
But actually, okay, right now I have the two main characters established, but there's more characters that I'm trying to add in later, but I didn't have enough time to do it.
Let's go ahead and walk through the beats on the screen. So let's walk through the log line, the main character, the genre. Like, walk me through these point by point. That would be the best thing for us.
Okay, so you want me to read it out?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm not a good public reader. But basically, when a pessimistic empress imprisons her subjects in stasis to usher in a new era, her royal guard rebels against her and endeavors to defeat her and liberate their village.
Cool.
The main character, like I said, the main characters are going to be her royal guard, but the main character in that group his name is Shinobu, and his goal and everyone else's goal in that group is to simply to stop her, their former queen, and to free everyone from her imprisonment.
Okay.
Let's see, the archetypal conflict, right? Man versus man. Is that the official term for that type of conflict?
Sure. Yeah. This is something, the genre stuff, I know I haven't made some in-depth videos on this yet. I'm working on that. But this is fine for now. And then the setting is a fictional Japanese village. So we have like an action superhero fable kind of story. That's cool.
Okay, cool. Okay. Here's something that I never did until now, which is create a official synopsis and setting for my story.
Okay.
And I like to hear what you think about it.
Yeah, let's go ahead and read it out for me.
So Yasumu Hana takes place in Heiwasakan, which is the name of the village. It's basically a massive village that is in the midst of recovering from an earthquake. And that village is ruled by Emperor Kaiho and his wife Shoko, who is a superhuman humanitarian who had a huge hand in the village's recovery. However, after years of witnessing firsthand the relentless cycle of suffering that her people has gone through by trying to restore the village, She became disillusioned with reality and vowed to break the cycle and create an era where humanity is liberated from reality itself. And she does this believing that she's freeing humanity from having to suffer. And to this end, she turns her husband, who opposes her goal, into a sleepwalking puppet to serve as a bodyguard against his will. And she sacrifices a immense amount of her power to create Yasumahana, which is a enormous gardenia flower that renders the inhabitants of the village unconscious and encases them in stasis pods. However, her royal guard are the only ones who are able to resist the flower's power, and they seek to stop their empress. And as a result, she deems them the awakened.
Okay.
And that's basically the name of people who are able to resist the flower's power.
Okay. So our good guys are the Emperor and his wife, and our bad guys is Shoko?
Oh, no. The good guys is Shoko's husband, Kaiho, and his royal guard.
Okay.
Shoko is the villain.
Gotcha. Okay.
Now, I know you just got done talking about philosophical conflicts, but there's two. I had two of them,
Sure.
and I don't know which one to pick. The first one is optimism versus philosophical pessimism, and the second option is escapism versus excessive escapism.
Okay. What do you mean by these?
Escapism?
Well, escapism versus excessive escapism doesn't really seem like a black and white conflict. It's like optimism versus excessive optimism. It's like I don't know what that would mean.
Oh, well, hold on a second, because I had the exact definition down.
What are
escapism?
What are these two viewpoints here that you have here? Are these? So you've got life is albeit harsh and full of hardships, is endurable, precious, and worth living. Escapism is beneficial when done intentionally and in moderation. There's great value in adversity and tempting to endure. Life is unbearable and not worth living. Excessive escapism is the only way to cope. I think you're getting confused with this whole idea of putting escapism kind of in one of them. It would be living in reality versus escapism, I think is more accurate to what you're describing here.
Okay.
Living in reality versus escapism.
Okay. Well, here's the thing about escapism. The reason why I have it as excessive escapism is because naturally, escapism is actually it's an act of diverting one's mind from reality or unpleasant emotions through activities or behaviors that involve imagination or entertainment. It's a way to avoid pain or discomfort.
Right, which is not necessarily a good thing.
Well, actually, again, because I've done research and because I want to do more research in this, but done in moderation and with intent, it actually can be helpful. It's basically taking a small break from whatever pains or hardships you're struggling with in reality.
Mm-hmm.
It's a way to for you to take a break and refresh and be rejuvenized. So that way you could go back and try to deal with whatever hardships you're dealing with. For example, if you have a very hard and stressful day at work, you might escape by watching a movie. It's just taking 1-2 hours to watch a movie.
So this is
to relax.
So this is a good thing to think about here, right? Does saying, okay, let's say I have a job that I hate. Now, do I go into escapism to escape that reality, Or do I, after that job, stay in reality and face that reality and think about how I can escape this job permanently in reality? Though, therefore, I think that you could absolutely make the argument that some escapism is just continuing to band-aid the issue, and that ultimately, if you were really going to escape, let's say, a job that you hate in the real world, the goal would not be to, I'll just do a quote-unquote little bit of escapism today. Instead, it would be, how do I actually work towards getting away from a reality that I do not like so I can exist in a reality that I do like?
Okay, I got you. See, this is why I need your help. Give me a new viewpoint.
Sure.
Because I never thought of that. I never did. I never thought of that.
Well, because
yeah. Okay.
Because you think right now it's like you're living in the black versus gray, not the black versus white. You're living in the idea of, okay, I don't need to play 8 hours of video games. And I don't need to go to a job I despise and play 8 hours of video games. But if I go to a job I despise and play 2 hours of video games and still don't work towards my future in any way that isn't this, job I hate or this career I hate or whatever, well, that's okay because I'm still, But like the problem with moderation is that nothing really changes. You just have a sense that you're doing it differently, right? It's like, it's there's a lot of vices that work that way, where you say, as long as I'm not binging this thing, then I'm doing okay. Where it's like, well, no, it's more binary, right? Either you're doing that thing or you're not doing that thing. It's less escapism versus excessive escapism and more living in reality versus escapism. Because ideally, if you just live in reality and you tough out the reality, then you start to really deal with that pain or deal with that discomfort, deal with the frustration as to why you have ended up in this position that you've ended up in. Well, then over time, you can actually free yourself from that reality that you don't want to be living in. But the problem with escapism is that it keeps you in that reality that you ultimately don't want to stay in. And so I think that's something that you could maybe play with within this story, that like, yes, life is full of hardships, but it is worth living, and there is great value in adversity and attempting to enduring and overcoming, rather than going into the escapism side. And so you kind of have on one side, life is unbearable, miserable. Then we can again, right? This is why when you make the two big viewpoints black and white, then you can create gradients under them, or you can create characters that sort of represent the pros and cons of the different viewpoints, rather than making the fundamental philosophical conflict one belief versus the excessiveness of that belief, right? So it's like you make the two fundamental beliefs, living in reality versus escapism, and then within escapism you can make this argument of, okay, like what moderate escapism versus excessive escapism, and then on the other side you can have living in reality and what it looks like when reality is working for somebody, right? They've really dealt with their emotions, they dealt with their pain, and they're actually really working. Or, the con of that, where like they're living in reality and reality just really, really sucks for them, and, they're just kind of in that state of pain. And so then you're taking those two big ideas and making the gradients, making the gray areas under them, rather than making the core conflict one side versus excessive same side.
Okay, I got you for that. Okay, because when I was studying this, I realized that when escapism can be harmful, because once again you already touched on this, but it can be harmful if you indulge in it too much, and when escapism becomes a literal escape from your problems. Like, instead of taking a break in order to recuperate and then going back to deal with the problem, you're just escaping the problem and you're just living in your own fantasy.
Totally.
And you're avoiding dealing with the problem.
Exactly.
But that's basically like the two sides of the philosophical conflict I was trying to establish with the two characters, because the main villain, she she believes that reality itself. Well, actually, that's in her beliefs. If you could check that out, because her belief is like it's rooted in that excessive escapism,
Mm-hmm.
and the unhealthy side of it.
And the antagonist believes, she believes that life is unbearable,
Yeah,
miserable, and not worth living due to constant hardship. She believes that reality is a prison, that practicing escapism in excess is key to freeing oneself from overwhelming struggles. Yeah. She believes that adversity is worthless. Trying to endure and overcome it is ultimately futile. Yeah, I like that viewpoint.
yeah, okay, exactly. And in order to do that, in order to like provide that escape, because escapism in real life, it takes it takes on like many various forms. It could be video games, shopping, watching TV, movies, even
Right.
sleeping. But and again, when you, if you, well, it could also be harmful things like addictions as well. So, but for this character, she's choosing to use escapism through sleep, and she's using that to the extreme, and she's forcing everyone, like she's forcing her subjects, basically into forcible confinement through sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And the main characters, and keep in mind her entire like village, they're still in the midst of recovering from the earthquake.
Have you built a plot out
So
for this yet?
not yet. That's the next thing I gotta work on.
Sure. I think so here's what I would say. I mean, this is a good start.
Okay.
You got your core key two characters. I think you could build out some more characters that do represent that gray that we were talking about, right? Like, characters that are like, what's the pro living in reality? That might be Shinobu. And then like,
Oh,
is there a character that's con living in reality? And then, you also have like the escapism, right? You have like, maybe you have a pro escapism character. I don't know exactly. And then you might have a con escapism, which would be, I think, our main opponent here, Shoko.
oh well. Okay. I do have other characters. I just haven't established them out yet.
Okay.
Everyone that's on viewpoint one is, besides Shoko, is the other members of the Royal Guard and their their king slash their sensei, which is Taiho, which is Shoko's husband.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would just love to see, I would love to see those characters tossed in, and then I would love to see some plot.
Okay, I got you.
So
Wait a minute.
this is definitely a good
someone
start.
Okay, great. So you also like the synopsis in the setting.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this is kind of Data to Cycletus, and I mean, this is like I wouldn't say this is a full synopsis. This is more of like setting the stage.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry. Well, this is part of the synopsis. This is basically just the setting. Yeah, like you
Right.
said.
This is setting the stage. So that's what I'm saying is like I want to see a full plot. But yeah,
Yeah,
I'm liking
that's the
it.
next thing I'm working on.
Awesome.
So this is a good setting then.
Yeah, I like the setting. I think it's a fun start. Very anime.
Yes. Yeah, that's the intention. Thank you, Tom, man. I really appreciate this.
Yeah. Thanks for hopping in
Thanks
and
for
bringing
taking the
story.
time.
Of course. All right. Cool. Well, I think I'm going to go ahead and wind the stream down there. Thank you guys for hopping on. Thank you to everybody who brought your story framework forward today. You know, that's what we do around here. If you're interested in getting in my writers group, where we use my story framework regularly Mondays and Fridays to work on stories, practicalscreenwriting.com. You can check out that stuff. You know, here's the link, practicalscreenwriting.com above. And then yeah, I got other stuff on there. Gomtesh, that one guy that was reading today, was talking about my ebook. If you want to check out my ebook, it's like $9. You can check that out on the practicalscreenwriting.com as well. And my one-on-one coaching is there. You know, all the stuff. Yeah, I got the free stuff here, and some paid stuff on the website. There's also some free stuff on the website, like the 7 Lies blog. If you guys have seen that. You know, yeah, if you're still here almost 3 hours into the stream, this is where I plug. This is where you get the plugs from me. So yeah, this is like free too. 7 Dangerous Lies. And then, you know, check out the other stuff on the website, practicalscreenwriting.com. Got the ebook, got the writer's room, got the one-on-one coaching. I'm working on all kinds of stuff for the channel, guys. Like, really, really cool stuff. But I'm not rushing any of this. I'm working on some like definitive videos. Like, what I want to be is like the absolute definitive stuff for me. So, it's taken me some time. Albin, actually get the ebook. Yeah, man. Hop in. And hey, you know, I've got the writers group if you want to hop in there too. But yeah, thank you all for hopping in. I hope this has been fun. I hope this has been educational, entertaining, helpful, all that fun stuff. I'll see you guys soon. And again, yeah, I'm not trying to confuse with my latest video. I'm not trying to make people totally forget philosophical conflict, though I did use my clickbaity title there. The point is, if you're somebody who's listening in and you're super stuck in the abstract ideas and you're like allergic to actually getting into the plot, don't get caught up in the abstract, right? The story is a trinity of the physical, the emotional, and the philosophical. By working on the physical world of your story, you are making decisions that influence the emotional and the philosophical. By working on the characters and creating their relationships, you're creating this emotional world that also influences the physical and the philosophical. By thinking about your philosophical conflict, you are also, hopefully, able to make decisions in the physical plot world that are influenced by the theme that you are trying to express. So story is a trinity of those 3 ideas. Don't feel like one of them is totally and fundamentally separate from the other. Follow the fun. Follow what you're working on. I hope this has been enjoyable for you all. And yeah. Am I still doing the screenwriting live stream? No, I'm not going to be doing the Let's Write a Screenplay live streams anymore, because I really have felt that I need to be able to focus on the story, just me. Like, I thought, you know, and I think it was a good exercise for a while. If you watch the last episode that's still up on the channel of me kind of explaining why I stopped the Let's Write a Screenplay live, it really got the juices flowing again, so that was really good, and some people really gave me some nice ideas. But ultimately, with the story, I need some alone time with it. I need to kind of be able to not check and make sure my stream is streaming, or, you know, all this other stuff. I need to be in the story, and so that's what I'm going to be doing. So hope you all enjoyed. Thanks for hopping on the stream. I'll probably be streaming Minecraft again this weekend, so keep a lookout for that. That'll probably be Saturday if I'm feeling it again, because I felt like that was pretty fun, and I got some good feedback on. It kind of allows me to talk about movies and, you know, perspectives. I talked about the prequels. I talked about, you know, my opinions on Oppenheimer. I talked about a lot of different movies there. And it's nice to like let myself talk about that stuff while I'm doing something else, so I can kind of just get into the zone of it. So yeah, Minecraft weekends will probably be what usually goes down. So yeah, if you want to know when I'm streaming, click that notification bell. Thanks guys for hopping in. Have a good night.